Hey, good morning, Alfredo. Fantastic. Thank you for the questions. Awesome. Have them ready to go. That's perfect. Cool. When I get to Q&A at the end, I will most definitely address those. No problem. All right, gang, let's go ahead and kick this off. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me. We're going to geek out a little bit on Sierra Chart. I have an enormous list of stuff that's constantly growing because I'm always thinking of something or discovering something or whatever, finding something that I use all the time that I realize, oh my gosh, I should probably tell people about this because I bet no one else knows you can do this, that kind of thing. So this list is just ever growing. There's no way we're going to get through all of it today in one shot, but that's okay because I plan to do a bunch of these. So we'll just start and see how far we get to, and if we get to a logical, clean kind of place to end before moving into another area of Sierra, then that'll be a good time to end it. So I'm figuring probably this will go an hour. I can't imagine it'll only go a half hour because it's me and it's Sierra Chart. And yeah, there you go. So let's see. First place I want to start. First of all, let me take a moment to sort of say, this particular session is not meant to be an introductory guide to Sierra Chart. So there's gonna be some assumptions made about having certain basic operational knowledge of how Sierra Chart works. That being said, if I do something, even something really basic, and you're just like, what the hell was that? What did he just do? By all means, throw it in the chat. Let me know, and try to give me some context because I might not notice your comment right away. I might be engrossed in something on my main screen, and my comments are over on the right screen. And if I come back to it later and I just see, wait, how did you do that? I'm not going to know what that is. So try to give me some context around things. If you need to jump in with a question about something I'm doing, I will try to keep an eye on the chat though. All of that out of the way, the first place I'm going to start is actually not even in Sierra Chart. I'm going to start with some Windows things, Windows workflow stuff, I guess, and utilities that are very, very useful, that are a big help when dealing with Sierra Chart. So that's where we're going to first go. The first thing, and actually, I should probably explain this before I do that. So, first of all, I'm sure there's a couple of you I'm absolutely dead certain are familiar with this and what these are and how they work. But I'm sure there's several of you who have no idea. And that is, there is something in the land of computers called symlinks, short for symbolic links. And they're kind of like shortcuts in Windows or aliases in the Mac. In fact, they're very much like those. The differences are super technical and don't matter to layperson. The bottom line is they are shortcuts that point to another file. Right. We've all done this before. If you take a program like Sierra Chart, right? If I right click Sierra Chart in Windows and I go to send to desktop, right? What does it say? Create shortcut. And it makes a little shortcut. In fact, if I minimize this, now I got shortcuts, right? We all have these little shortcuts, and see how they have the little arrow icon there in the left-hand corner. That tells you visually that it's a shortcut. Oh yeah, that's done, whatever. And so these are all just shortcuts, and they point to the original program, right? So if I pick something like this one here, and I go open file location, right? It's going to open the actual location where that real file lives. And I can rename these shortcuts to whatever I want, right? Without messing with the actual program, which, by the way, important safety tip, don't rename programs. A lot of the time, probably most of the time, you'll be okay if you do. But I've absolutely seen programs where people rename the program so it's something that they like better, that makes more sense to them or whatever, and things break. Don't rename programs. Make a shortcut and rename the shortcut whatever the heck you want. So that's kind of like important safety tip number one. Anyway, so that's what shortcuts are, right? Well, here's the interesting bit. Generally speaking, people just use shortcuts for programs, right? They're a quick and convenient way to launch something. But shortcuts can be used for other stuff too. For example, settings files. What that means is you can do some interesting things like this. Let me pop this open in a new window. So I have my external, well, it's not external, but my separate drive is an NVMe. So it's an internal, but my separate drive is called Vault. And in that, I have all of my different Sierra Chart installs, right? And I have tons of them, lots and lots and lots of them. And I got really tired of having to remember if I changed a shortcut, like a hotkey, in one copy of Sierra, then I had to go change it in all of them. And that's just a huge pain in the neck, especially if you forget and then you're in a different copy and you hit the hotkey and it doesn't work. And you're like, oh, crap, what happened? Oh, I forgot to copy the hotkeys over. And so you're always going in here and you're looking for this file here, keyboard shortcuts 4. It's 4 is Sierra's internal version and versioning. It's silly, but whatever. Keyboard shortcuts 4.config, and you have to copy that file and paste it into the original or into the other copy of Sierra, and it's a super annoying headache. But there's something really cool you can do instead. So in my Vault hard drive, I have a folder called, where are you? SC data files, right? And I don't, I put underscores in it, just old habit, but in SC data files, I have a variety of things. I have some stuff that's old and junk and whatever. Underscores in front of them basically means they're not in use, and I can ignore them. But these ones here, alert sounds, symbol settings, keyboard shortcuts 4, and Sierra 4 config. These are files that frequently, not 100% of the time, but like 90+% of the time, I want to share between copies of Sierra Chart. I want them all on the same hotkeys, right? I want them to have all the same alert sounds, right? I have a ton of alert sounds in here because I've gone on the web and I've downloaded a crap ton of free alerts, like all these different sounds here, sound effects for different things. And I want all of them to have the same sounds in them with the same names and everything so that my alerts are consistent across copies of Sierra Chart. And same thing in symbol settings. My symbol settings, which are where your like commission settings are for different data feeds and evaluation companies and stuff like that. I want to share that across all copies of Sierra Chart as well, instead of having to always, fire up a new copy of Sierra and, it doesn't have my commission settings. Damn it, I got to go in and add them again. And, it's a huge headache. I'm sure at least some of you have had that happen before and you're kicking yourself for now I have to go spend 15 minutes reopening the symbol settings window and going and finding the right field and changing the value, and it's stupid and annoying. But you don't have to do that, because what you can do is you can literally make a shortcut pointing to these files. These are what I consider to be my master copies of these files, and you can drop that shortcut in another copy of Sierra Chart, and presto, just like that, you have saved yourself the trouble of ever having to do this. So here's what that would look like. So for example, imagine this here is a new copy of Sierra Chart. I'm going to show you what it looks like first, how it works. And then I'll show you the tool that lets you do this, because this is not a built-in Windows thing unless you want to get into the command line. And most people don't want to touch that. So there's a nice, easy way to do it, which I'll show you in a minute. So anyway, imagine this is a fresh copy of Sierra Chart. It's not, but we'll just imagine it is for argument purposes. And here's my keyboard shortcuts file, right? And you can see there's another one here with just orig after it for original, right? So that's the original copy that came in Sierra Chart. And that's my convention. I just append orig after it. So I keep it around in case I ever want the fresh clean file for whatever reason. So let's just go ahead and delete this one, right? I'm going to actually, sorry. One other important safety tip. Sierra Chart needs to be closed while you're doing this. Otherwise it won't take. So make sure your Sierra Chart is not running while you do this. So anyway, I'm going to just delete this. We'll pretend it's not there. So here's the original copy. And let's just imagine I went ahead and I just renamed it and I called it orig. Great. Okay, there it is. Now what I can do is I can go over to my master copy here. I can just right click it and I can say pick link source. You'll see where this is in when I show you the tool that allows you to do this. I say pick link source. And now I go over here and I just right click somewhere and I go drop symbolic link. And it's going to take me to, I don't know if you guys can see this link shell extension screen. I'm not sure if Zoom will be able to share this or not. But anyway, I have this dialog, standard Windows alert kind of thing popping up saying, do you want to do this? I'm going to say, yes, I do. And then over here, you will notice, boop, there it is. Keyboard shortcuts 4 config, right? .config, just like before. But look at this. Look at the type. It's a .symlink 0K. They're really, really, really tiny files. They take up absolutely no space whatsoever. So this is now pointing to that. And I have this in every single one of my copies of Sierra Chart. They all point back to this one. So I have one shortcuts file that every single copy of Sierra Chart shares, so that my hotkeys are always consistent. I never have to worry about it. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to discover that, like, oh crap, that one hotkey, my get flat hotkey isn't in this copy of Sierra. Oh crap, all of that. Don't have to worry about that. So this is really super handy. And lastly, before I show you the tool that lets you do this, one thing to know about this is symlinks. This is a silly Windows thing, but symlinks cannot be duplicated, copied, just straight copied between folders. So what I cannot do is like just make a copy of this file and, like drag it over here. Like watch what happens if I drag this over here. No, it'll rename it. That's fine. If I drag this over here, no, it doesn't. Okay, because it has the same name. I'll just drag it to the desktop. So watch. I'm gonna take the symlink. I'm gonna drag it to the desktop. Oh, there's already one there too. Fine. I don't care because whatever it is, I don't need it. There we go. But what did it do? It did not drag the symlink. It dragged an actual file. This is. Oh, wait a minute. Hello. Oh my. Maybe something has changed because this never worked for me before. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I may be wrong about this. I will be very happy if I'm wrong about this because this has never worked for me. It always ended up dragging the actual, making a copy of the real file and not a copy of the symlink. I'm going to have to explore that. So let's put that on pause. Forget about that because I think I might be wrong, or possibly Windows updated something that now it can handle that. I don't know. That's never, ever worked for me. But here's the tool where you get that. It is called Link Shell Extension. And you can just Google it, Link Shell Extension. That's all I've done here. Google it. And it's right here. You can also download it from CNET, but it's right here. This is the home website for it. It's free or shareware or freeware. What I think it's just completely free. I don't even think it's shareware. And you just, go to download and you install it, and it's standard, Windows stuff, installing a program, what have you. And once you've done that, you get, when you right click on a file, you get this extra thing, pick link source will appear there. And so you pick this file as the source, and you can pick multiple things too. Like this is exactly how I usually do it. I pick these three. I actually don't use a master config file anymore for a reason I will explain in a moment. But I just pick all three of these. This is what I do with every fresh copy of Sierra. Every time I have a new copy of Sierra, I select all three of these, right click, pick link source. There it is. And then I just go into my folder and I right click and I, where are you? Yeah. I've got to, this is another quirk. You don't want to click on an actual file because it'll think you want to manipulate the file. So I try to click somewhere in like, I usually try to find some dead space. That's weird. Maybe yeah, see, because now you get the standard stuff to manipulate files, and that's not what I want to do. I want to, there we go. So Windows is funny this way, but you'll notice this time when I right clicked, go away. Silly preview. There we go. When I right clicked, yeah, see how it's highlighting stuff? But if I'm really careful and I go right between two files, there will be no highlight. Oh, there we go. And now I can drop as symbolic link. Anyway, you might be able to, you can do it right there. Great. The preview pane. Beautiful. I never thought to try that. You can just right click in the preview pane, drop as symbolic link. And that's how you do it. There's a bunch of other stuff in here too, which if you're a super geek, you can dive into that if you want to, but I don't use any of it. I just use symbolic links. Now, as I mentioned, I don't do this with the config file anymore. You might want to, however. Here's my reason I don't. This is super useful because the config file contains all of your various default Sierra chart settings, right? For time zone and all the different trade dome settings and chart trading settings, all that stuff, all the little fiddly bits that we're always going in and tweaking are all saved in there, which is really super useful. If you want to have them the same in all your copies of Sierra, you can use this one master and drop it as a symlink everywhere. And there you go. You're good to go. The reason I don't do this is because this includes the naming of Sierra chart. What I mean by that is, let me just pop this copy open real quick. In Sierra chart, if you go into, go away. If you go into global settings, or general settings, I should say, and you go into GUI, custom title bar name, right? Custom name. You can give your title bar a custom name. And if you look up here in the upper left-hand corner, when I do that, custom name. And I do that very specifically for a reason, because in all my copies of Sierra chart, and I just flipped to one, I'll explain how I did that in a second. I have here's my Lilu funded. Here's my Apex. Here is Boolinox. So I name every copy of Sierra Chart for the company that I trade in that copy. I don't do multiple. I don't change data feeds or anything like that. I don't trade multiple companies in a single copy of Sierra Chart. And if I use a master config file, they all inherit this name every single time. And then it's really annoying. And, as I lose track of which company I'm with. So that is the only reason why I stopped using a master config file. If you don't do what I do with multiple companies, multiple copies of Sierra, one per company and all that, this might be perfectly fine for you. If you don't care about naming your copies of Sierra in the title bar, that's the only reason I don't do this anymore. Other than that, this is super, super useful. What I do instead now is I literally just drag this over to each copy of Sierra each time. I don't do a symlink. I just copy the file, and then I go in that one copy and I make that one change, and I change the title bar name. But other than that, I use the symlinks. Excuse me. I use the symlinks for these three right here in every single copy of Sierra Chart, and it is a huge headache saver, or headache eliminator, let's say. The next really, really handy thing I use is called X mouse button control. And again, this might not matter to everybody, but for me, I think Windows might have finally added this as a default. I'm not sure. I think Windows 11 at least does, but I'm in Windows 10 and I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. And one of the things that I really was annoyed with is I've gotten very used to what's called natural scroll, right? Which means that if I scroll up, the content moves up. If I scroll down, the content moves down. Of course, back in the olden days, scrolling up meant literally scrolling the scroll bar up, which pushed the content down. And grabbing the scroll bar and dragging it down, push the content up. But I've gotten used to this natural scroll, which is the way we scroll on our phones and iPads and tablets, things like that. So X mouse button control, one of the many things it can do is it allows you to do natural scroll, and it just makes it the default across everything in Windows. It also, if I open it up here, it's got different profiles for different programs. So I have mouse button hotkeys assigned to do things in certain programs. And so like, for example, in a browser, I can just click a button on my mouse and I can flip back and forth between tabs. And I use this absolutely all the time, every single day. It's a huge time saver. So really, really useful utility. Again, another freebie, another free one out there. And you can just Google X mouse button control or just X mouse and it will come right up. And it's the parent website is right here, highres.co.uk. So it's a British developer. It's short. It's colloquially, I can't speak, commonly referred to as XMBC as well. Anyway, so X mouse, really super useful. And then the last thing that's incredibly, incredibly useful, and Lee turned me onto this one, is called Window Grid. And Window Grid, well, it allows you to make a grid out of your windows. So if I take something like, I'll take this browser tab, right? And I grab it and I'm clicking and holding it, dragging it around, right? If while I'm clicking and holding it, I right click my mouse, you probably can't see the grid here. I'm not sure if it shows the grid or not over Zoom, but I now have a nice snapped rectangular-ish, squarish grid, and I can just make this whatever size I want. And this is a really super useful in Sierra Chart. It's how I get all my installs, looking all really, really neatly, tightly lined up and perfectly spaced and everything like that. It's really, really, really great for those of us who like our windows to, the edges to touch and things to be snapped together really nicely. And we want things to fit really well. So if you're one of those who likes that, Window Grid is a great tool in Windows. It has a few bugs / quirks with it. In particular, one that is sometimes really annoying is that it doesn't really like my portrait monitor. I think it's because it's portrait, because it's basically rotated 90 degrees. I think that kind of confuses it. It also doesn't handle if I've got a window that is not full screen, like this window here, and I take this whole thing and I try to adjust it. Now it's not. Okay, maybe that's actually Sierra specific, because in Sierra Chart, that does not play nicely. In fact, if I go into Sierra here, I'll just show you. Like if I have this here and I right click it, oh no, that's the parent window. Never mind. Sorry. It works in the parent window. It won't work on a chart. If I open up a chart, new intraday chart, let's just do ES. There we go. And if I detach it, there we go. And now if Sierra Chart is not attached full screen, right? And like, let's say I have it half screen for whatever reason, and now I try, it doesn't work at all. I'm not sure if you can see this, but on my end, It's totally, the window is actually, if I pull this up, it's actually way over here on the right. So it's if you play with it, if you use it, you'll see what I mean. It does not like when Sierra Chart is not attached full screen, but it has a few other quirks as well. But still, in general, it's an incredibly useful tool for just snapping stuff to locations and stuff like that. So anyway, really, really, really handy utility. And again, free, just Google it, Window Grid, and it'll come right up, windowgrid.net, and you can install it and have fun with it. There are other window managers out there too. There's one called Divi that Lee is now using. He moved on from Window Grid. He likes Divi better. I tried Divi. I didn't like it. I like that I can just right click and scale. But anyway, useful tools. Now, let's dive into Sierra proper, shall we? First thing is some basics about interacting with dialogues. And in case, I shouldn't assume everybody knows the terminology. A dialogue is, actually, that's a bad example. A dialogue is like this, right? Specifically, this is what's called I always get these reversed. I always get them backwards. One of you probably knows which is which. I always forget. I just always get them backwards. But there's modal dialogues and there's non-modal dialogues. I always forget which is which. The bottom line is that whichever one this is, one of them means you can't do anything else. In fact, here, let me turn back on my computer audio. So if I try to interact with anything else while this dialogue is open, I can't, right? Because it's locked me out of the rest of Windows. But other types of dialogues, like the new fugly as all hell Sierra Chart dialogues, are not like that. I can interact with other stuff. I can do whatever I want, and it does not lock me out. There are advantages and disadvantages to both approaches. And Sierra Chart has both. They've obviously over time been gradually moving away from this type. This is Windows drawing this. That's why this is so fugly, is because they are not using any Windows calls to create this. They are rabidly anti-Microsoft. If you don't know, read their forum sometime. It's pretty hilarious. They are like obsessively, insanely, psychotically anti-Windows. It's amusing, actually. But because of that, they are trying to eventually move completely off of using no Windows calls whatsoever. Yes, the program will run in Windows, but it won't use Windows any more than the absolute bare minimum. And you can see they're in an in-between state here, because this dialogue here is a standard Windows dialogue, standard Windows buttons, standard Windows look and feel. This one is very much not, because this is, again, not using Windows. So anyway, a couple things to know about standard Windows dialogues. Any dialogue really, but especially the standard ones. There is the concept of button focus. What that means is one of these buttons, if you look very carefully, one of these buttons is not like the others. If you look real closely, you'll notice the OK button has a slight dark shadow around it. It's kind of subtle, but it's there. That is the button that currently has focus. If I pick a different button, like let's say I click on settings, right? I'm not going to actually click it. I'm going to click and hold, and then I'm going to move off of it just so we don't actually go into it. But now that has given that button focus. And you can see it's just a little bit darker. It's got a little outline around it. That means that's the button that has focus. What that means is that is the button that if I hit the enter key on my keyboard, that's the button that's going to get hit. If I hit enter right now, well, there's nothing to have settings on. So let's just add, there we go. I added the study. If I click enter, it opened up the settings for that study, because the settings button is the one that had focus. All right. Same thing. If I can hit enter or return. In that case, I hit return. If I hit enter, I get the same thing. And here, same deal. If I have the, I don't know, let's try the scale button, right? Right now, the scale button has focus. You can tell because it's got a little outline around it. If I hit enter, it pops open scale. So mousing around, you probably all already have figured this out. Mousing around to interact with things is probably my least favorite way of interacting with a piece of software, because it's slow and it requires precision pixel movement of a pointer and all this kind of thing, when for so many things you don't need to do that. You can just use the keyboard and do whatever you want. Additionally, you can use the arrow keys to do various things. Like, you can see right now I'm pressing right arrow and I'm increasing the chart region. Left arrow decreases it. If I hit Shift Tab, I can go up the list of items. I can hit Tab, I can go down. So I can actually get to all the things in here. I'm just holding the Tab key down now. I can get to everything in here just by Tab or Shift tabbing to go up and down the list. I don't even have to use the mouse for anything. And I can type, a short name, whatever, and I can hit Enter, and then there we go, because the OK button had focus. And now I can tab to the OK button, hit Enter, boom. I did all that without touching the mouse. So very efficient, big time saver once you get comfortable with it. It takes a little while. I always found to adapt to keyboard shortcuts and keyboard interactions with a piece of software, I had to just basically force myself. It took a little while, but once I got used to it, oh man, you can absolutely fly. And so it's a huge efficiency saver, and it's worth getting familiar with that. But understanding button focus is really helpful, and it's not necessarily an obvious thing. Another thing about Sierra is, let's see, wow, that's a good example of this. No, well, let's see. Is that okay? Nah, that's not a great example. Oh, I know the perfect example. Yes, in fact, this actually will be good. I think. Yeah, subgraphs. So, no, actually, sorry, this is not a good study for that. No, this is a terrible study for that. Let's try something that draws something simple. Like, let's go to line. Line, there we go. And actually, I just did one of the things I'm going to show you, which is I hit the first letter, I hit L, and it took me to the L's in this list. So that's another useful thing. But if I go to line, I go to subgraph, yeah, you got all these different draw styles, right? Well, as I'm sure all of you have noticed, these draw styles, they have no sane order at all. It's ridiculous. They're just... it's random. I swear it's random. It's just whenever Sierra Chart has thought of adding another thing, they just tack it onto the bottom of the list. It's not even alphabetical. Like, for freak's sake, like, what is wrong with these people? But what you can do is if you hit a letter, it will take you to the first thing. Like, for example, I'm going to hit F, right? I don't even know what F will take me to, but I'm going to hit F. Oh, it takes me to fill top. Okay, great. But now notice it's been a few seconds. I'm sitting here. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to hit F again. And it goes to the next one. I hit F again. I can just keep hitting F, and it's just going to cycle around through all the Fs, right? You notice it keeps going back to fill top. Now, here's the thing is if I want to go on from there, well, how do I go further? Well, I've got one of my Sierra alerts going on. I'll just turn that off. I can hit G, right, to go to, actually, no. Oh, there are no Gs, right? I can go to H. Yeah, horizontal profile. J, there's no J's. I can go to K. Nope, no K's. L, line extend. And now from here, if I want, I can go up and down arrow. And I can just zip through them. Now, you also don't have to type just the first letter. Like, if I knew I wanted subgraph name, I think is one. If I type SUB quickly. No, that's right. Sorry. This doesn't work here. I always forget about that because you would think it should. In other drop-down lists, you can type several letters. And it will jump to the thing of the first, that starts with the several letters you drew. In this one, it doesn't. So what I always do is I hit S and I just hit it a bunch of times until I get to subgraph name. And once you get familiar with the layout of these things, you will actually get familiar with how many moves down it is to get to one. Like, I believe, if memory serves, subgraph name is 6. So let's test that. Let's see. I'm going to hit S 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope. 7. I was off by 1. So you get familiar with these over time, and you start to be able to just know, okay, I want subgraph name. That's 7 S's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Bam, boom, done. So you can start to navigate this very, very quickly. But the lack of sorting is just such a nightmare. I'm still never remembering where things are in this list. Sometimes I've gotten to the point where a lot of times I remember something is like in the bottom quarter or the top quarter or kind of the middle. But other than that, this list is just a nightmare to navigate. So that's a really useful thing. Okay, one other thing, actually, I forgot to point this out before when I was talking Windows stuff. Another really handy thing in Windows, most people, they navigate through their install folders and stuff like this, right? They just go to data, double click that, and, market depth data, whatever. They just go through there, and then maybe they use the back button or the forwards button, whatever. But the file or address bar or whatever this is called, I actually don't even know the exact name of this, file explorer. I don't know what they call this, but this has some useful stuff in it. For starters, of course, if I want to go back up in the list, I could just click on the top level, whichever level I want, and it takes me right to it. But notice there's this little arrow right here. If I click on that, here's a list of all the folders that are in my current location. So if you want to get to something, especially if you're in a folder that has 1 million folders in it, right, that's just page after page after page of folders, you can just find them all here and get to them very easily. Select it. There you go. And this becomes really useful specifically and especially when you have multiple instances. For example, if I go into my development copy of Sierra, you see I've got 6 additional instances on top of the master instance. So if I go into my data folder, for example, and now let's say I want to get into one of the other ones, I want to get into instance 3, I can just click on this arrow here, and go straight to instance 3. And bam, I'm there. I didn't have to go up a level and then find instance 3 and then double click it and go in, whatever. You can get straight to things from right here. I can go straight to instance 7. Bam. So really, really handy time saver for navigating through installs that may have a lot of folders nested within folders within folders. And especially, like I said, if you're dealing with lots of instances, this becomes a definite time saver. Now, a minute ago, I switched back and forth to my other Sierra charts. So like this and like this and like this. And it's possible you were wondering, how the hell did he just do that? Well, Windows has a really super duper useful thing called virtual desktops. And it looks like this. And you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 virtual desktops. And I do use them all at different times. You can see they're named SC1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Trading stats, social admin, MakeTix, Mac, TRG admin. They're all organized by type of function, the kind of thing that I do. This is built into Windows. This is super, 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 super useful. And let me just get to a clean screen. There we go. To get to it, all you got to do is hold down the Windows key and hit Tab, and it pops it right up. And now yours by default will not have any of this. It will only have one thing, and it will not be named. I think it'll say untitled. But what you can do is if you hover over any of these, you'll notice the windows available switch to whatever windows are in that copy. And you can drag and drop stuff between windows. Like this is my Mac. This is remote desktop to my Mac, which is sitting next to me. It's my laptop. But that way I can do everything from one place. I could put this on a different screen if I wanted. If I wanted this all by itself, I could just drag it over to SC5, go to SC5. Here we go. There's my Mac. And if I want to put it back, I can just drag it back over here to the one for my Mac. There we go. And these are incredibly useful, and you can name them. If you click up here, you can actually name it whatever you want. So I've given them names, SE5, 6, whatever. But if I click new desktop, I'll get a new one. It's desktop 11 by default. That's what it is, right? Desktop 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the naming convention. And I can call this, demo screen, whatever. And there it is. Now I have a completely clean workspace. All right. It's a lot like, it feels like having another computer, quite frankly. And really, since Sierra Chart, internally, its design is such that more or less each copy of Sierra Chart gets its own core on your CPU. And given that today's machines, I'm from the day of single core machines, and when dual core was a big deal, like, oh my God, I have 2 cores in this machine. That's amazing. 2 processors. We called it multi-processor. It wasn't multi-core yet. And so Sierra Chart, every copy of Sierra Chart essentially takes 1 core for itself. And if you've got a modern machine, you've probably got 6 cores, 8 cores, 12, 24 cores. And so each one of these virtual desktops feels like it's a whole different computer. It feels like it's a different machine altogether because each one gets its own performance on the machine. There's no performance hit on this at all running multiple copies of Sierra like this. And organizationally, it's just really useful to have everything in one environment, one place. And you can't see this, but it is multi-screen as well. So for example, right now on my end, what I'm seeing is I see on this screen that you guys are seeing, I've got all my virtual desktops across here. On my other monitor, I also have the same view, only it's portrait because it's my portrait screen. And it's got the same virtual desktops with the windows that are for every single one of those on that screen as well. So I've got, whatever I have here, 12 or so completely unique, separate environments that if I want to drag and drop stuff between them, I can just easily do that. So virtual desktops are awesome. They are such a huge efficiency boost at being able to keep things really, really well organized and clean. And I like to, you can't see it here because I have all these in Sim because I wanted to stop trading for the day. I wanted to make absolutely certain I knew that, okay, you're done. You are no longer trading. But if I take all these out of Sim, you'll see I've got different colors for things, right? These are evals. And I know that because they're blue. I've set a blue for my trade windows. So my trade windows are blue and my fundeds are red. So these are my funded accounts. I got 3 fundeds right now. There's actually 4, but I need to set up a 4th dome. And so that way, visually, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm trading. And I could even change the colors. Can't speak. Change the colors between eval companies if I wanted to, whatever I need to do for my own visual organizational purposes. So having the virtual desktops is great. And I'm switching back and forth between them, by the way, with hotkeys. I actually don't remember. Are these default? I don't think these are default hotkeys. I think I might have mapped these. Did I? No, I don't know. I'm using Windows Control. If you hold down Windows and Control and left, right arrow, I can just cycle through all the virtual desktops and very quickly get to whatever I'm looking for whatever I want to do. So yeah, check out virtual desktops, especially if you often find yourself running out of screen real estate, because as long as you don't need to see them at the same time, this is a great, far superior, in my opinion, solution than multiple monitors. Multiple monitors is great when there's things that you literally need to be able to have up on the screen at the same time and you want more real estate. But if you don't need them on screen at the exact same moment, and I don't need these all on screen at the same moment, this is a fantastic, very efficient solution to that. So there you have virtual desktops. All right, now let's go back to Sierra. Where are you, Sierra? You are over here. Okay, great. Now, let's talk a little bit about studies, because I think I need some water. Hold on. Let me just reach over here and grab one. I always keep some in the back of my room, and I didn't think to get one out ahead of time. Okay, much better. So judging from things I see posted in the pit and online in general, and from questions that I've been asked, I think there's a lot of people using Sierra that don't understand or haven't taken the time to get familiar with the basic concepts around studies, like subgraphs versus sub-IDs, IDs versus subgraph IDs, study IDs versus subgraph IDs. Sorry, I'm jumbling all my thoughts together. And it's really, really critical that you understand the differences between these. And once you do, they open up a whole world of things you can do. And it's not complicated or anything. It's just, you just got to take a moment to go, oh yeah, okay, I get it. That makes total sense. So for example, let's see. What do I want to use for this? Well, let's use something that spits out a bunch of stuff. Let's use Fibonacci. There should be, yes, Fibonacci bands. That'll work. Great. I don't even know its default setting. Great. Oh, look at that pretty rainbow. Isn't that lovely? Oh, my inner technical analyst is loving this. Let's just make this like that. Beautiful. Okay. Oh, that's so pretty. Now, got all these lovely bands here. Let's, zoom this in. Let me switch this to scale by default. There we go. All right. Or move by default, rather, I meant to say. So I've got all these bands, and each one of these bands has something associated with it. It's some kind of fib number. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I should say the hotkeys I'm using. I'm zooming in just with the up arrow on my keyboard. There we go. Now, if we open up this study, we take a look at it, there's a couple of things worth noting. Now, first of all, this is very simple because I have no other studies in here, right? There's just a single study. So no surprise, the first study you add is always ID 1. And you can see it right there, ID 1. But there's also a 1 to the left of it. Well, what's the difference there? Well, let's go ahead and add something else too. Let's go crazy. Let's add some Elliott waves and an Elder impulse. Yeah. Now we're cooking with gas. Now you'll notice ID 1, ID 2, ID 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, what's the significance of that? Well, ID 1 is the ID that has been assigned to this particular study. ID 2 is the one assigned to this study. ID 3 is assigned to that study. Those are fixed. They are not changeable. You cannot decide to change them after the fact. They are what they are. Although I will show you a trick a way around that, but it gets complicated. Um, 1, 2, and 3, however, is the order that they appear in this window. So, for example, if I click Elliott waves and I say move up, you'll notice Elliott wave is now number 1, but it's still ID 2. The IDs go with the study. No matter where in order it is, it's always ID 2. And you can see it's always 1, 2, 3. No matter what else I add, if I add, this and that, whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These numbers on the far left will always just be the sequential order of whatever your studies are, but that has nothing to do with the actual IDs of the studies, which could be anywhere in your list, 6, 1, 3, 2, 5, 4, right? But they are tied to the study itself. So this is the ID. If we say study ID, this is the number we're talking about. It's this ID number. Now let's open up something like Fibonacci. Now, these on the subgraphs tab, not surprisingly, like by default, it'll probably come up on the settings and inputs tab, but on the subgraphs tab, these are subgraphs, and they are labeled SG1, SG2, 3, 4, 5, et cetera, with however many subgraphs that study has. And I think Sierra has up to 60, I believe, is the limit. I know that only because Lee is pushing the absolute bleeding edge of that limit with his newest tools. But most studies will, have a handful. And they are SG1 through whatever. They don't have to start at 1, however. There are studies, some of, again, Lee's new ones in particular, that start the subgraph counting higher than that. So don't always assume that the first subgraph in the list is going to be SG1. It might not. But the important takeaway here is you have ID1, SG1, SG2, SG3, ID, but it's always ID1. If we're referencing this study, it's always ID1 and then the SG of whatever subgraph we want. Why is that important? Why does that matter? Well, it matters when you're doing alert formulas, whether you're doing them in here or in a spreadsheet formula study or in a spreadsheet itself or anywhere else in a color bar by alert condition study. It's the same thing. I'm just going to do it here for illustration purposes. If I wanted to reference this study in some way, like let's say I wanted an alert when price was, higher than L1. Let's just do that. Price is higher than L1. I want an alert. Well, L1, whatever the heck L1 is, I don't even know what L1 is. Level 1, I guess. I don't know. SG3 is subgraph 3, right? So we're talking about ID1. You can see it here too. ID1, subgraph 3. ID1, SG3. The syntax for that is going to be ID1 dot SG3. I don't know if they actually have to be in caps, but I always put them in caps just for consistency's sake. I always use caps. I just think it looks cleaner. It's easier to read as well. So ID1 SG3, but that by itself isn't going to do anything. That's just literally referencing the value of the subgraph. What we want to know when price is greater than that. Anytime price is greater than that. Well, price is going to be C for close. Right? It's OHLC, open, high, low, close, standard bar referencing stuff, right? So the closing price is C is greater than, and I always put a space around my math operators, again, for readability, because otherwise they look like this, and that is very hard at a glance to read if it's small on your screen, so I always put some space around them. C greater than ID1 SG3. Okay, great. That would be an alert. And here you can see the alert is true. It's set to line, so it's literally drawing a line. Actually, here, let's get this out of the way. Oh no, sorry, that's the sine wave. I forgot I even added that. Let's just get rid of that crap. All I really care about is these 3. Sorry, what I meant to do was that. There we go. If we go to the alert, there we go. Actually, we're probably not. Where is price right now? I don't even know. Price is down here. Yeah, so we're not above that. Let's make it below, right? Because it'll certainly be below. Less than. Ding. Did you guys hear that ding? Oh, you did not hear that ding. Here, let's try that again. Let's go. Ding. Ding. Do I have another alert installed? No, no, I don't. I don't think I Yeah, that's right. I didn't copy over my alert sounds in this copy of Sierra chart. But anyway, if I had an alert sound to choose from, then, there we go. Oh, in fact, here, I'll just show you how to do that. Let's imagine I want an alert sound, right? Here's how you do it. You go into general settings, global settings, general settings, alerts. And now you pick your alert that you want to assign a sound to, right? So alert 1 I'm going to go to select, and I'm going to pick a sound. I'm going to pick something like applause. Okay. And if I want to test it, yay, we have applause. I'll hit OK. And now if I go back into here again, I'll go to my Fibonacci bands study, and I'm going to choose alert 1. Hit apply. Because my alert is true, right? The last price is in fact lower than whatever ID1 SG3 is, which is, I guess, the yellow line here, I think. Yeah, it's the yellow one. It's this line right here. And we are below that. So I get the alert. So that's how you set up a simple alert. And that's the syntax for it. But that's the difference between the study ID and the subgraph IDs. It's really important that you understand the difference between those two. Now, there's one other little handy sort of, I don't know, power user trick. It's not really much of a trick, but because the thing I'm referencing is literally in this study, I am referencing this study, ID1. I don't actually need to specify ID1. I can just do close lower than subgraph 3. There we go. Because it's in this study. If I'm referencing a different study, like, let's see, the Elliott wave study. What does it even do? I don't even know what it does. I've never used it before. Doesn't seem to really do anything. Oh, no, it is doing something. Hang on. It's I can't see it because of all the colors of the fibs. Let's hide the fib. There it is. So if I were to change this alert, if for some reason I wanted actually, here's an example of how you might do this. Let's say I wanted an alert of 2 things. I want to do an and one other thing. This is an advanced thing, but if you're in the, let me back up a step. Let me add, hold on. This will make more sense if I do this. I'm going to add a spreadsheet. Where are you? Spreadsheet formula. There it is. Okay, great. So spreadsheet formula study, really useful. But here's the thing. The spreadsheet formula you use is entered on one line, which means you can't use any line breaks, carriage returns, indenting, nothing really. It's you have to just do it on this little one line, and it's a big fat pain in the butt to work in that one line. So what I do when I'm building an alert is I build it here, even if I'm not going to use it here. I build it here so that I can do it cleanly, let me rephrase that. If it's a super complicated alert, I actually build it in a text editor. I use Notepad++ and I do it there. If it's just a simple and with a couple conditions, or a couple conditions of and an or, that kind of thing, I usually do those right here. And to do that, in this dialog or field, in this text entry field, because it has multiple different lines in it, it's got some space, I can do indenting. If I'm at the start of the line, I hold down Control and hit Tab, I get an indent. And so I can do things like this. Let's say I want the close of the fib SG3 to be, or the closing price to be below the fib SG3. So just like I had it, but then I also want current price to be below ID, Elliott wave is 2, ID2.SG1, whatever that is. I don't even know. So that is lower than whatever SG1 is for the Elliott wave study. Now, because I'm referencing a different study, I absolutely must include the ID2. Otherwise, it's going to think I mean ID2 of this study, the Fibonacci bands study, not what I want. So, and then finally, to wrap it up, I got to put a close parenthesis on it. And now I can hit apply. I should still get the alert because I think we're lower than that. No, apparently we're not. What is ID2 SG1? I don't even know. I should probably find out if it is SG1. It is. Up wave. It's the green line, which I guess is, oops, spreadsheet formula. Go away. You're just confusing me. Go away. There we go. It's this green line here, and we are below that. So what did I do wrong? I must have done something wrong. Oh, is that a comma or a period? No, that's a comma. Okay. ID2 SG1. We're below that. I'm pretty sure we're below that. Let's try above. Unless I'm just crazy. Oh, I guess we're above it. Weird. All right. Well, I don't know what this study is doing. I should have probably picked a study I understand. But the point is, this is how you can do multi-conditional alert formulas And you can do them in a way that's readable and pretty, because otherwise, they look like this. And when they start to get really long, you've got complicated things that may be extended longer than this window and have and some ors and things like that. It's a mess. But you can just Control Tab and add indenting and make them nice and readable. And then what I do, once I've got a formula like this, let's say I was going to put this in a spreadsheet formula, right? What I'll do is I'll build it here first. And then I will take this. Well, okay. First, build it. Make sure it works. Once you've got it working, make sure you've applied. Make sure it is saved in this window, right? And the reason to apply it is because now, if I go out, if I leave this, it's going to keep making that alert. I'm going to turn off the sound so it doesn't bother you guys. If I go back into that alert now, because I applied it, it's there. It's saved, right? So here's what I do. If I wanted to put this in, let's say that this was intended to go into a spreadsheet formula. So let's add the spreadsheet formula back again. I'll hide it so it doesn't do anything. Now, I need to put this all on one line. The easiest way to do that is to remove all of the tabs. But there's a smart, I guess is the only word I can come up with. There's a smart way to go about this and a less smart way to go about this. The less smart way is to start at the top and go deleting stuff like this. And, it's not so bad on a really simple thing like this. Let me actually... Let's do this. Let me grab a much more complicated one. Like, what have I got that's more complicated here? Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Let's try that. Let's go. I think I have it here. No, it's not there. Is it here? Where are you? Oh, yes, there you are. Oops, there we go. So here's a more complicated example. You see here, it's got a bunch of stuff. It's got some ifs, some conditionals, some nested conditionals. So if I were to do that, let's say that was my alert formula, right? Let's say that it looked like this. And if I start doing, let me apply it so it's saved. If I start doing this, and trying to clean up all the tabs, I'm just hitting the delete key as I click the cursor in each place. It's easy to accidentally delete one too many characters, and then the whole thing breaks, and you're like, oh crap, what did I just do? Where am I in this? And I've lost my place. So the wise way to do this, I just hit the escape key, by the way, to get out of that. That's another handy shortcut, is you can just always hit escape, and it's cancel. So it just gets you right out without doing anything. You didn't save anything. I didn't write over anything. So I'm going to open this up again. I always start from the bottom. And then that way I just put my cursor here and I go delete, 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 etc. And I just do that until they're all tidied up. Oops. Like that. Now, important safety tip here, so you don't hose yourself. Do not save this in this window. Once you've got it like this, copy the whole thing, Control C. Do not hit apply. Do not hit OK. Do not do that, because you want the formatted version to still be here. Hit cancel. Right now, it's still there, right? Good. So if I need to come back and edit it some more or whatever, I still have my formatting. It's easy to read. I know what I'm needing to do. Great. But I have copied to the clipboard the nice one-liner version. So now I can go into my spreadsheet formula and paste, and this version will work just like that. So that is my workflow for working on more complicated formulas in Sierra Chart. But like I said, if it's really complicated, and in my personal world, I don't consider this terribly complicated. This is a fairly simple one. I did this in this window just like this. My real complicated ones literally are pages long. And they're more for spreadsheet systems when I'm actually working in a spreadsheet. And I work on those in a real text editor. I open a Notepad++ and I do syntax highlighting and the whole 9 yards. It's very similar to actual code development. It's just a much better way to work. Okay, so we are almost to an hour. Good. I got a couple more things I'll show you, and we'll probably be at a good spot. So another couple of things to know about studies. Let's say you take a study and you set it exactly how you want it. I mean, heck, we'll just stick with fib. Let's say that I get the fib and I want it to be actually on linear regression moving averages, and I want the study it's referencing. I want it. Well, no, that's fine. I'll leave that there. And let's say I like my moving average to be a 21, and my magic number is, whatever. I forget all the fib numbers. 27.6. Whatever. I don't even know. Let's say I get this all set just how I want it. And I don't want to have to do this every single time. There's a couple of things you can do, a couple of different ways you can deal with this. The first, and in my opinion, most flexible way is study collections. Save studies as study collection. Study collections are fantastic. They are a lifesaver. They will save you so much time and headache. If you have ever found yourself recreating the same stupid study every time, like the IB, setting the IB high and the IB low, and setting the start time for the range and the end time for the range, and something like that. For example, I see Lee do that over and over and over, and it kills me a little more every time, and I give him grief about it. Like, why do you do this again every time? You're killing me. Once you have a study that you set up just how you want it, save it as a study collection. And you'd be forgiven for thinking that collection means multiple, right? It doesn't have to mean multiple. It can be a single study. It's a preset. And you can save lots of different versions of it with slightly different presets and give them different names, whatever you want to do. So if this was my magical fib setting, and I call this, JVC fibs, right? I can save single, not save all. Save all would save all of these studies just as they are. Save single will save just that one. But there's one other really useful thing, or really important thing to consider, which is this: prompt to remove existing studies. If I don't prompt, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to choose this. I'm going to save this without that. I'm going to go save single, save JVC fibs. Do I want to save the selected study using the name JVC fibs? Yes, I do. Fabulous. Okay, great. Well, isn't that nifty? What did that do? Didn't seem to do anything. Well, what it did was, up in my analysis menu now, I have a new option, JVC fibs. But because I did not tick that little box that said ask before applying studies, or ask to remove studies, or whatever the language was, I forget exactly. Because I did not tick that box, notice a couple of differences here. See all of these other ones that are saved here? They all have a plus at the end of them. That plus tells me that those are going to ask me. In fact, here, I'll select one and show you. Do you want to clear the existing studies on the chart? What if I don't want to? What if I say, oh, no, I don't want to clear my studies. I've got my numbers bars are perfect, and I've got everything else there. I don't want to clear those studies. No, absolutely not. Okay, well, I can say no. And now it's going to add them to it. So it added a bunch of stuff from Lee's study collection, which I'm now going to remove. Great. Now we're back where we were. So because I did not use that option, if I select JVC fibs here, notice it has no plus sign. Watch what it's going to do. Uh-oh. What just happened? Well, it just overwrote everything. It removed all my studies automatically without asking me, and it replaced them with just the Fibonacci band study. Now, if I had painstakingly chosen a bazillion studies in here, and I had everything set up just right, and so on and so forth, and I maybe haven't saved this chart book recently or something like that, we've got a real nightmare scenario on our hands, because I just lost a ton of work, and there is no undo. So when I'm saving study collections, I absolutely positively always 100% of the time tick prompt to remove existing studies. And now notice it put a plus symbol there. If I save this single now, you will see I have two different ones. I have fibs plus and fibs. Now, I would want to get rid of this, right? I don't want that floating around. So where are study collections? If you pop open your Sierra chart installation, they're in the data folder. If I go to date modified, they'll come to the top. There we go. Wait a minute. That should be... Oh, wait, no, that's not today. What am I saying? No, what? Am I in the wrong? Oh, I'm in the wrong copy. That would do it. Hello, it helps to be in the right copy. We are in, it's on the desktop. Desktop, where are you? Platform, there it is. Bam. All right, data. There we go. Date modified. Perfect. Here they are. JVC fibs plus, JVC fibs. So I'm going to delete that one. Don't want it floating around, right? And now, if I go back in my menu, it's gone. Just like that. So one of the other great things about study collections is now that I've saved this to a study collection, if this was something, and you guys have seen, some of you have seen, I've shared study collections of things that I've done in the pit. If you want to share this with somebody, you want to send it to someone, all you got to do is literally give them this file, .stdycollct. Typical Sierra chart. Why? Whatever. But I just take this file. I can zip it if I want, but they're really small, right? There's a 17 kilobyte file, very small. I can just drag and drop this into the pit, email it to someone, throw it on a thumb drive, whatever, and they will be able to apply the same study just like that. Now, if the study collection you saved references commercial studies or third-party studies or your own studies, whatever, that they don't have installed, you're going to run into problems. For example, Lee's chart books that he shares, he almost always leaves them exactly as they were on his system. And he's got, of course, his development versions of stuff installed. And, he's got references to all kinds of studies that you and I and none of us will have. And so you'll pop open his list of studies here. And in fact, here, let's go. I'll add one of his study collections. I'll just add that one. Sure. Yes. Whatever. So here's one of his study collections. So you'll pop it open and it'll have a bunch of stuff in here that'll have error messages and not loading, can't find file, whatever. You can just safely delete those. All that is it's referencing studies that he had installed that you don't. So you don't need them. Just delete them. Simple as that. However, if any of the other studies in there were referencing those studies, then you're going to have some studies that don't work, that are broken, and you're going to wonder what's going on. And so it's worth really understanding what are the studies in this chart book I just opened or this study collection that I just applied. You'll want to really understand those and understand what you're doing. So study collections is one way, and in my opinion, as I said, the most flexible way to save the settings of a study. But there's a simpler, quick and dirty way if you would prefer. And that is this. Let's say I go into my numbers bars and, I get everything set exactly how I want it. Like I want, I don't know, full background. No, I want it to be a profile outline. Great. Whatever it is. If I just quickly want to save this so I can apply it to another chart just like this, I can click on set defaults. Set defaults. In fact, let me make this more obvious. I'm going to set this to no text and, none and none. So these are no text, none, and none, right? They didn't default there, but that's how they are now. If I hit set defaults, okay. And let's just clear out all the studies here. Let's go ahead and just remove, right? Bam, they're all gone. Now I'm going to go to numbers bars, type NU, numbers bars. There we go. I'm going to apply numbers bars. Now, if I apply it, and then we go in and look at it, you'll notice no text, none, none. It's my settings, right? So now by default, anytime I add a new numbers bars from this list, it will come in with those settings. I don't have to have a study collection. I don't have to do any of that. It will just always come in with those settings. But what if you don't like those settings? What if you think, shoot, I really need to just get back to the defaults? Well, you click reset defaults. However, there's something about this that is not immediately obvious. This took me a while to figure out why it didn't seem to work. I click reset defaults. It says, doing this will reset the default settings, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, whatever. But who reads this stuff, right? But if you actually read it, this will not change any of the settings for this or any existing instances of this study. It will only apply to new instances of this study. It's telling you exactly what it's going to do, but who reads? So you hit OK, and it's like, but it didn't go back to defaults. What's going on? It didn't work. It didn't do anything. Reset. You keep resetting, and it's just like it's not doing anything. Well, it's not doing anything because it's not. It did do something, but not to this copy. If I remove it and add it back again, there we go. Now we're back to factory default numbers bars. So that's the reset defaults. But study collections I find to be by far the best way to save your settings. And you can have lots of different versions of settings for different purposes. Just make sure that you give them good names. These are mediocre examples of that, but I try to name my stuff sensibly. For example, like if I go in here, JVC footprint, no numbers, footprint, not a price projector in the bar, range IPs, Lee's daily ATR, market. I've got tons of these so that I never waste time doing the same thing again and again and again. Creating that same silly IB range over and over and over, that kind of thing. No, just go up here, select IB range, done. There it is. So very handy. So Bauer, is there a list of all code for words? Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Sierra charts, for all of their quirks, they are very well documented, and I have some shortcuts to the stuff I use the most. Sierra chart, the stuff I use the most is spreadsheet functions and the example formulas and usage. Those are the two things I reference the most. And everything you could ever want to know is all in here. It's all in the documentation, but it means poring over documentation, which nobody likes to do. But as far as the bar stuff, that's just OHLC. It's just like any standard bar chart, open, high, low, close. However, be advised that those do not work in spreadsheets. They will work in a spreadsheet formula in the spreadsheet formula study, like here. It will work here. I can do, closing price greater than, greater than the, high plus low divided by 2, which would be the mid, right? Something like that. There's you can use OHLC here. You cannot do this in a spreadsheet. In a spreadsheet, you would have to actually reference the IDs of the studies. I can throw that link in. It's simple enough. So I reference that one all the time, and then the other one I reference all the time is this one. This one. There you go. But you can, and how I got these, I just literally went, Google Sierra chart spreadsheet formulas. And what do you know? It's the first 2 links. So, Google is your friend. You're very welcome. All right. Let's see if I can get through a couple more things before we wrap up here that'll be useful. Okay. I talked about resetting defaults. Yes. Study duplication. All right. Here's a really handy thing to know. Now, this starts to dive a little bit into some power user stuff. Some of you may recall, where is it? It's over here. Yes. Let me put this on, put it on the other screen. I'll put it over 5. Is that it? No, it's must be 4. There it is. Okay, great. I'm going to drag this over here. Some of you may recall this. This is my master list of my study IDs, and it's very definitely a work in progress right now. I'm discovering better numbers to put things at and realizing, oh, shoot, I didn't give myself enough room and I'm moving studies around, whatever. But eventually this will become a concrete set in stone list for me of this is where my studies live, the things I use all the time, so that I never have to wonder where they are. And these are their study IDs, right? ID 210, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever. And here's what they all are. Now, why would I do this? Well, here's why. Has this ever happened to you? You get a chart book from someone or a study collection. Actually, it's simpler to explain a study collection. You get a study collection from somebody. It could be one of these study collections, and you want to add it to your chart and all of its neat bells and whistles. So you open up your chart that's got your studies on it and your lines and your, whatevers, and you add the study collection and nothing works. Everything's broken and you can't figure out what's going on. And you realize none of the study IDs match because the IDs he was using are the ones I was already using. And so it put the studies in at different ID numbers, and now formulas are not referencing the right thing, and the drop downs are pointing to the wrong place, and everything's a complete fustercluck. And you have to spend a ton of time figuring out how to fix it all and get it all to work. It's a total mess. Just out of curiosity, has that happened to any of you before? I'm genuinely curious to know if this is just me. You throw a Y in the chat. Yes. Okay. I figured it had to have happened to at least somebody. Thank you, Ella. So it's not just me. The reason is because Sierra chart is very dumb, let's say, or not intelligent about the numbering of study IDs. It literally just, the first study you add gets ID 1, the next study gets ID 2, and you cannot change those IDs. Not possible. You cannot just go in here and go, oh, you know what? Actually, I want this to be ID 4. Let's just change the ID. Nope. I wish you could. Oh, God, do I wish you could. But you cannot do that. So what I have discovered, however, is that when you save a study collection, it saves it with these IDs, whatever they are. The thing is, let's say that I've saved this study collection with ID 1 and 2, right? And then I send it to one of you. I share it with Ella. Ella, check out my amazing numbers bars spreadsheet formula study collection. And Ella says, oh, neat. Okay, I'm going to throw this on my IB range chart I've got over here that has 12 different studies on it. So she applies my study collection. Well, Sierra is going to see that IDs 1 through 12 are already used. So it can't use 1 and 2. So it's going to make these number 13 and 14. It just tacks them on to the end. Well, if I had a spreadsheet formula, for example, that was referencing ID 1 because it was referencing something in the numbers bar, well, then now this is going to be completely broken. And Ella's going to go, what, JVC, dude, what are you doing? Why did you send me this crap study collection? It doesn't even work. It's totally broken. It doesn't do anything. What's going on? That's what's going to happen. It's infuriating. Okay, maybe Ella is savvy enough to go into the spreadsheet formula and look at the actual formula and go, oh, it's referencing ID 1. It's not going to work. It's got to reference ID 13 or 12 or whatever, and change it and fix it. Okay, fine, great. But why? Yeah, every time. Exactly. Oh my God, what a nightmare. Well, here's the thing. Since the IDs are saved, what if we put these studies that we want to use in the future and we want to share with other people safely so that they can add them to their charts without conflicting? What if we put them on really high study ID numbers, like number 100, number 200, 300, 400? Put it just so far out of the way, it's never going to conflict with something somebody else is using. You can actually do that. But how? Because you can't set the number. How do I set it to number 200, 300? Well, it's silly. You're going to laugh, but here's how you do it. I don't have. Okay, good. Actually, I can go through the whole process here. So here's what we're going to do. Let's say that I want numbers bars here to be on ID 184. Let's just say I want it to be on ID 184. Well, if I duplicate it, you'll notice it goes to ID 2. And duplicate it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Can you see where this is going? Now, that's silly, right? Sitting here and duplicating my numbers bars 184 times and then deleting 183 of them so I can get one study out at ID 184. That is absurd. It works. Don't get me wrong. It works, but it's just dumb. Oh, my God. So there is a slightly, still silly, still kind of dumb, but slightly cleverer way to do this. So I'm just going to remove all of these. Here's what I have done in all my other copies of Sierra Chart. I took the line study, and that's just because it does absolutely nothing by default, right? If you open it up, it's literally, it's a line across your chart at whatever number you type in here. It's just bonehead nothing. It has no calculation time, takes no CPU, nothing. It does nothing. And I will hide it. And I hide it just because if I don't hide it, watch what happens when I apply it. I get a line down here. I don't want that. I just don't want to see it. Just go away. Just great. I don't need it for anything. This is a complete placeholder, right? So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to make 100 lines. I'm going to click duplicate once. Now, remember earlier when I talked about what button has focus? The duplicate button has focus, which means I don't have to click it. I can hit enter, right? And I can hit enter again and again. But better than hitting enter 100 and whatever times or 99 more times, I can just hold it down. Yoink. There we go. I overshot slightly. So I'm going to go remove, remove, remove. So actually, no, I wanted one more because I have the numbers bar study here too. So line 100. So including the numbers bars, I now have 99 lines. Right? Actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove numbers. Well, actually, yeah, here. Okay. I did this out of order. I create the lines first. Let me just duplicate this. So I have number 1 there. Okay, great. So when you hide a study, does it execute? Yes, it does, Alfredo. Studies absolutely still execute if they're hidden. That's the point, is you just don't want them visually there, but you still want them calculating and doing stuff. So if I apply this, like, you're not going to see anything, right? Because it's 100 lines. That's it. There's nothing there. Actually, I want 99 lines. There we go. I have 99 lines here. This is so silly, but it works. I'm going to save this as a study collection called 99 lines. Talk about creative. Prompt to remove. Save all this time. Not save single, save all. Don't want to save them all? Yes. Great. Now, I'm going to just go remove. I'm going to just hold down the remove key. Now they're all gone. Right? So now there's nothing on this chart. If I open the studies again, right? Nothing in studies to graph. But if I go up to analysis menu, I've got 99 lines. Clear the existing studies on the chart. Well, there aren't any, but I'll say yes anyway. Looks like nothing happened, right? But, oh, look, we have 100 studies. Okay, what happens if I add it again? Clear studies. No, I want to add. I want 200, right? What do we got? We have 200 studies-ish. What did I say I wanted numbers bars at? 184. Remove. 184. There we go. 183 is now the last study in the list. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. I'll go down to here. I'll go to my numbers bars, and I will add it. Number 184. Right there. I have now put numbers bars on ID 184, and it will stay there. And now I don't need these anymore. When I'm removing, here's another safety tip. When I'm removing all of these studies here, I do not start from the one right below the study I want to keep, because that is a real easy recipe for accidentally removing the wrong one. I start from the far away end. Remove, hold down the key, and I just look at the scroll bar. Watch this scroll bar. You'll see it getting smaller, or actually it'll be getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as we get closer. And that way I know it's time to slow down. There we go. Now we're getting close. Now I'll just go individuals. Bam. Now I have ID 184 numbers bars. If I save this as, I'll just call it 184 NB. Save single. Doesn't matter because there's only one study anyway, but save collection as. Yes. Okay, that's great. Now, if I remove it, watch what happens. Let's add a bunch of other stuff. I'm going to add basic footprint, and I'm going to add this one. This is going to be the ugliest chart ever known to man. This is going to be hideous. Make Lee cringe. If you're watching the replay, Lee, sorry, not sorry. And we'll add my footprint, and this is just nuts. Okay, great. So, oh, this is so fugly. But look at the IDs, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, they're not in order, perfect order, but they're all in there. All the numbers are used from 1 to number 18. So now if I go and add my 184 numbers bar, clear existing studies, no. And now if we look, ID 184. It has jumped completely out of the way of all of these other studies. This is a lifesaver if you want to, A, be consistent for yourself with where your studies are. You know, that's why I love being able to have this cheat sheet. If I can't remember what's the ID of the study, well, I know I always use this. It's always there. I never have to worry about it. And eventually I start to memorize these, and I just know that, oh, you know, I want something you guys actually have and use. I want what's the overnight mid? I know it's ID 161, or what's the session high? It's at 167 SG1. That kind of thing. And I never change them. They just, well, actually right now they're very much changing because they're in flux as I figure out what's the best number for everything. But eventually, once I have it totally dialed in, I won't need to change them. And this means that if I save a study collection with some handy stuff for you guys or anyone, but if I put a study collection in the pit, it's not going to conflict with anything you're already using, because all your studies are going to be in numbers 1 through 50 or 60 or 70 or maybe 80, 90, you're crazy. One of the crazy people who has hundreds of studies on there, whatever. I should talk. I'm one of those. But anyway, my IDs are way up at 200, 300. They're probably not going to conflict with anything. So this is a huge headache saver if you've ever encountered this kind of problem, which I know obviously at least Ella has. So. Yeah. Okay. I think that's actually a pretty natural place in my notes to stop, because then we start to veer off into other things. So that works. Cool. Yeah, that is a handy thing to know about for sure. And another thing, actually, so just a bonus thing. I have a study collection for clean chart. And guess what a clean chart is? Literally, it's a clean chart. No studies. That's all. So if you want an easy way to remove all studies, just save nothing to a study collection and call it clean chart. There you go. And then you can always just clean up your studies that way. So handy dandy tips and tricks for you all. All right. Now, real quick before we go, I know there were some questions at the start from Alfredo. So let me look into addressing these real quick. So Sierra performance. By multiple sessions, I'm guessing you mean multiple instances. And instances, there's a couple different ways to do it. You can do it through the new instance feature here. Whoops, under the file menu. Right there, new instance. And what new instance does is, if I let's minimize this. New instance, actually, let's minimize that too. Actually, let's minimize everything. There we go. New instance will, let me go into, where did I put it in? Whoops, wrong thing. Let's try that. There we go, development. New instance automatically by default copies all of the critical files for Sierra Chart into a new folder, and it calls them Sierra Chart Instance 2, Instance 3, Instance 4, etc. And each one gets its own data folder, and it will, by default, the first time you create the instance, and only the first time you create the instance, it will copy over all your studies and all your chart books, and everything that's in your data folder will all be here. But in the future, if you save something in the primary instance, it has nothing to do with the secondary instances. So you're going to have to copy stuff over if you want to share it between instances. Instances are really useful, especially for performance. There's another way to do instances, however, which is to literally have multiple copies of Sierra Chart installed. For example, on my other screen, you can't see it, but I have these. And this is literally 9 fully separate, completely independent, unrelated, disconnected copies of Sierra Chart. And there are some advantages and disadvantages to both approaches, depending on your personality and how you think and how you mentally want to organize stuff. Lately, I have taken to just using the instances feature and just letting Sierra Chart manage them. I'm finding that's a little bit less headache for me. I know where things are, but I do have to constantly be duplicating if I work, I try to make all my changes to a chart book in the first instance. And then once I know, okay, this is the instance I want, and everything's working how I want it to be. For example, I want to do a big replay. I was doing this a ton the last couple of weeks. I was doing a replay on all of 2022, a year's worth of data, but that's a very, very, very slow replay. If I were to run it in one instance over the full year, even at a high speed, it would take weeks. So what I do instead is I fire up 6 instances of Sierra. Each one does 2 months of data. So 2 times 6, 12. There's my 12 months. So I get a full year of back testing, replay testing done overnight. It's actually in like 4 hours. And it's very, very quick, very efficient. But if I realize partway through the back test, partway through the replay, that there's a problem, and I see, oh shoot, I've got an issue with my spreadsheet I need to fix, or a study is set wrong or whatever, and I have to fix it in all of them, I want to fix it in the master. And then once that's fixed, I copy and replace that chart book in all the others. And then I got to change my session times back and change the data period of time back. And, it's a process. It's a little bit of a headache, but it's efficient once it's running, and it allows you to do an enormous amount of replay testing over a huge amount of data very quickly and efficiently. So, so as far as performance goes, I would question, Alfredo, for you, if you're even really at a place where where you're doing anything that's high performance that needs multiple instances. I would doubt it. My guess is you've got either A, an underpowered computer, or B, you're using way too much data. For example, if I were to set this, let's say I put this on let's say this was a 15-second chart, right? 15S. If this is a 15-second chart and I had it set to, 1,000 days of data, if I do that and I hit apply, Sierra is going to lock up hard for probably 30 minutes as it tries to load in 1,000 days worth of 15-second data. So make sure you're not doing something like that. On fast timeframes especially, you really want to keep the amount of data to a relative minimum. I usually, 3 days, 1 day even. I only do large quantities of days if I'm doing a bunch of replay that requires them. So you want as little data loaded as possible. That's your number one performance killer. The number two performance killer is going to be things that paint on the screen, and especially things that paint with transparency. Avoid transparency if at all possible. Transparency is a definite resource killer. So go with opaque. And if you've got, like, for example, if you're using Lee's stuff, you're using Lee's emoji studies, and you are painting unfinished business and price rejectors, on a 30-second chart going back 10 days, that is going to kill your performance because all of those little drawings require a lot of CPU. That's actually one reason why you may or may not have noted. Oh, actually, yeah, you're in. Oh, I don't have it here. You're in Lee's new stuff. Lee's new tools. It's one of the reasons why they have this setting right here. Is because by default, the old tools use however much data is loaded in Sierra. The new ones, you can set it. You can say, yeah, despite however much data is loaded in Sierra, only use, in this case, 500 bars for the purposes of emoji. I could set it to use 10, 1, but I could still have, 1,000 bars loaded in my chart, but the emoji study now will only reference as few as I want it to, which is a huge performance helper. So that's probably the first area that your DOM is moving slowly, is if you've got many days worth of data. If you've got 30 or 60 days worth of data on your DOM, it's going to slow way down. I try to run my DOMs at 1 day. I typically have them at 1. Like, what's this one set to? Let's just find out. Whoops, wrong button. What am I set to? I'm set to, this one's actually on 30. Okay. But this one I don't think is. Watch, I'm going to make a fool of myself in there. Yeah, this one's only on 5. So I usually have my DOMs set to relatively little amounts of data. On the trade window, selecting commission types sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Dollars and ticks. I'm not totally sure what you're referring to there, but where you set that would be here under trading, currency value. I can set it to currency value, or I can set it to currency and ticks. Apply, and now I've got currency and ticks. Just ticks, whatever I want to see, points, etc. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what if it works sometimes and not other times. I don't know. I can't really troubleshoot that from here. I'd have to see it happening and have to have some idea of what's going on there. But that's where you change that, is in the trading tab of the chart settings. 8 core, 32 gigs of memory, SSD. Well, it depends on what kind of CPU, though. It could be an i5, multi-core i5, in which case it's going to be dreadful. Lee's charts are going to take, because they are so huge. They're for his 4K screens. They are massive, and they are generally not going to be usable out of the box. Lee's charts are meant for you to take apart. Pick the stuff that you want, put it in your own. Don't try to use his chart books. You're asking for trouble doing that. They are meant to be kind of a construction kit that you can pick and choose the bits and pieces that you want. Menu of trading. I'm not in a menu of trading. I'm just in the trading tab of the chart settings. That's all. That's right there. Profit loss format. So that's where you change that. But yeah, you'll want to make sure you're on at least an i7 processor. And Sierra, will use more processor speed if you've got it, but it's not that heavy most of the time, unless you're doing, again, tons of drawing, lots and lots of drawing. I try to keep drawings as minimal as possible. So no problem, Ella. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad you could be here. I'm glad you got something out of it. And that goes for the rest of you as well. I think we'll probably wrap it up there. If there are any other questions or comments or anything like that anybody wants to throw out, put them in the chat now. And like I said, we got, partway through my list. And so I can definitely do more sessions like this and dive into more stuff. And I'm very much open to input and suggestions. If there's anything that you would like to know how to do, or that you've tried that it doesn't work, or you can't figure it out, or you get stuck on, or whatever, throw them my way, and we can just do an endless series of this kind of thing. We can start to fine tune it to the things that you want to see, want to know, and need help with. So that is the plan. All right. Hey, you're very welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. I appreciate you guys as always. And until next time, I guess we'll see you in the pit. Oh, that's right. Today's Friday. That's it. Hey, that's it for the week. How about that? Another week down. So the next thing will be there's no Sunday reopen this week. That's right, because Jeff is moving. So I guess the next thing will be Ides on Monday. So yeah, quiet weekend then. Enjoy your weekend off. If you take weekends off, I hear some people do that kind of thing. I'm not one of them, but I hear some people do take weekends off. So, all right, gang, talk to you all soon. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.